We're thundering towards the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is Permco MotoAmerica Superbikes at Mid-Ohio for our 7th round of 9 for 2024. And you heard it right, we're at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio for Mission King of the Baggers, race number 1. And what a day we have on deck for you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, Mission King of the Baggers, pretty simple. Harley-Davidson versus Indian. We have Kyle Wyman versus Troy Herfoss. Looked like it was going to be like that to the end of the year. But all of a sudden, we have the number 1 plate, who was nowhere to be seen at the beginning of the season. He's in the mix.
Yeah, you'd expect Hayden Gillum to show up. And like you say, Greg, had a little bit of a bad first run of the season on that defending Harley-Davidson from Vans & Nines. But you can see now he's only 61 points back. If he can leave Mid-Ohio, which I think is going to be a great track for Hayden, if he can leave it at around 50, he still has a shot at this championship.
Jay, it's his last 4 races that have really done it for the number 1 plate.
Yeah, obviously when we went to Laguna Seca, we knew it would be a good place for him. He would go on and win there, Greg, and really bring himself back into it. And if nothing else, he's going to be a big spoiler for those 2 guys in the front. He can get in between those guys for the championship.
These numbers tell the story. 85 points in the first 8 races, but in the last 4 races, 91 3 wins, 4 podiums for Hayden Gillum. And boy, what a turnaround it has been. He's got a large mountain to climb, but for Hayden Gillum, it is not impossible. But Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, we are back. And Jason, it's a fan favorite and one of ours.
Man, it is one of my major favorites, Greg. Off into turn 1, up into fast turns 2 and 3 before the famous keyhole. All repaved, by the way, is Mid-Ohio right now, so it's beautiful. Out of the keyhole down that back straightaway, a lot of passing opportunities down into turn 6. When we get to the turn 11 area, up into turn 12, that's Thunder Valley, Greg. They go ripping down through there. Turn 13, such a key corner here. A fast, off-camber, almost blind left-hand turn before you rip it into turn 14 and then back onto that front straightaway.
What a great road course. How about a closer look inside with our Insta 360 look? It's Bobby Fong with the onboard camera, and you can see beautiful skies and a great racetrack. We're going to get race action going when we come back to Mid-Ohio.
You can see the riders and Mission King of the Baggers out in their grid positions. And Hayden Gillum, I want to talk a little bit more about him for a second. Just coming off of the racetrack in that Steel Commander Superbike race and the tremendous effort that he was able to put in, finishing inside of the top 5 aboard a Stock 1000 motorcycle at the front row of this race, alongside 2 riders who haven't seen the track in this condition. What advantage does he have?
He has a little advantage to know exactly where the track is. They know it's a little bit green. The disadvantage that he has is he's used a lot of energy. A Superbike around here is not an easy track. It takes a lot of work, and he put on a pretty big charge. He slowed down in the last couple laps in that Superbike race, probably saving a little bit of energy, but he definitely, I think, has a little bit of an advantage knowing the grip level.
This is the warm-up lap. You see Hayden Gillum, he was up there in his spot, but he decided to pull out and get behind the rest of the field. So as they come around, we'll go back to Greg and Jason.
Ohio Sports Car Course is brought to you by Permco, a leading manufacturer of high-pressure hydraulic gear, vane pumps and motors, flow dividers, intensifiers, and accessories. By Mission Foods, the world's leading brand for tortillas and wraps. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Drag Specialties, an industry-leading distributor of aftermarket parts and accessories for Harley-Davidson, Indian, and custom V-twin motorcycles.
Live shot overhead of Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and yeah, it is as gorgeous as it looks on television. If you haven't been here, we got another day of racing ahead. But let's take a look at the starting grid. We have Kyle Wyman, Troy Herfoss, and Hayden Gillum occupying the front row.
With Rocco Landers, Tyler O'Hara, and James Rispoli outside of row number 2. Back onto row 3, Jake Lewis, Flinders, Wyman. Bobby Fong is not in this race, but Larry Pegram is. Corey West there in 11. So Larry Pegram has taken Bobby Fong's place for this race after Bobby had that incident this morning in Superbike qualifying. The worm is here, Greg.
The worm is here.
Larry Pegram is here. You see him back there.
Let's talk about the number 43, though, James Rispoli, who qualifies 6th.
He's just been working all year on a lot of different things, and he's got a fast teammate. And this weekend, they have found some stuff on that factory Harley that's made James a little bit more comfortable. Sector 2 has been giving him fits, and this morning he gained half a second there. So we'll see. He's got a little bit more confidence now, so we'll see if he can put that together for this race. I expect a pretty big battle at the front. I think Herfoss and Wyman have pace, but I think Gillam's going to throw it in there, and I think it could throw some curves around that's going to bring some other guys into play.
All right, so 9-lap affair, Mission King of the Baggers. Race number 1 here at Mid-Ohio, as we're going to hear these powerful V-twins rev up. It's time to go racing. And a good launch from your pole sitter as we head off into the left-hander turn number 1, but it's going to be an inside move and a lead change just like that, and it's going to be, looks like Troy Herfoss takes over the lead from the 33 of Kyle Wyman.
But Kyle looked like he got the jump, didn't it? That Indian, once it got rolling, it was able to get up the inside of Kyle Wyman. Now these two, this morning in our Baggers Challenge race, they ended up 1 and 2. Herfoss took home that 5,000 in that race earlier, but Kyle probably learned a couple things, so we'll see if he can put that to use. Tyler O'Hara does a nice job. You see him there in 3rd, and it looks like Rispoli just there in 4th, with the 2 Vance and Hines Harleys of Rocco Landers and Gillam, who must not have got a very good start himself. Fresh off that Superbike, Greg, he had to change out of those leathers, get into his Vance and Hines leathers, so Gillam, our defending champ, back in 6th.
And a lot of these riders waiting to go racing as the day's been delayed by some rain a couple of hours ago. But one rider that has already raced is the number 1 of Hayden Gillam, who's trying to find his way up to the front. But Troy Herfoss doing a great job. But Jay, you talk about that race that happened earlier today, and it was these two up front, and Kyle Wyman tried to get a drive onto the front straightaway and get past Troy Herfoss for the win. But for Kyle Wyman, he wasn't able to get that done. It was a 35/100th of a second victory for Herfoss. But now we got 8 laps to go after they come across the stripe, and Wyman's going to have plenty of time to go to work on the Australian.
Yeah, look, this place is already hard enough to pass, and on these big wide bikes, it made it even harder. And Kyle had a couple shots. Now, this first sector goes from start-finish line to about 3/4 of the way down the back straightaway. The Harley of Kyle Wyman looked pretty solid all through this area, and he was able to close up. The second sector looked like Herfoss had a little bit of an advantage on Kyle. So it's kind of a balancing act right now as you see 6 bikes still tied together there, with 7th being Jake Lewis. You see him just falling off the back of these 6 guys. And looks like Rispoli might try. He's giving a look there for 3rd, but O'Hara backs that big Indian in. You saw him back it in, didn't you? You see a big black line, and he's not able to get by. But this is good stuff from O'Hara and Rispoli to keep this lead 2 guys kind of honest.
All right, so these first 6 stay in the position. That gives us an opportunity to welcome the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa, to Mission King of the Baggers.
As you mentioned at the top of the race, that Bobby Fong is not in the field, and the number 72 of Larry Pegram is making his Mission King of the Baggers debut. He rode the bike for the first time ever in Q2 this morning. Only got a handful of laps, but he said he's improving every single lap around the track. Really positive attitude. He manifested this. He wanted to race a bagger so bad, and the team was so happy to support Bobby Fong's efforts toward that Superbike championship.
Well, it's great for both riders. I mean, Pegram wanted it. He's got it now, and he's back in 9th place is the Worm. But up front we go as Kyle Wyman, coming off out of the keyhole down to the back straightaway last time, had a look over his shoulder, and you could tell that Herfoss is starting to up the pace. We go 28.40, fastest lap of the race, 28.7 for Kyle Wyman. Hey, fans of MotoAmerica, you can pick your favorite riders for a chance to win money, available on your favorite sport book and daily fantasy sites like DraftKings and Underdog Fantasy. Visit nxtbets.com/playma for exclusive sign-up bonuses for new players and receive bonus cash. Available in legal states. Check out nxtbets.com/playma to see where you can play in your state.
Yeah. You see there, Rispoli had a look, didn't he, Greg, at the inside. Wasn't quite able to make that pass. Now he's got to have another look. They come down into turn 8, but that big Indian is awful wide down there. Now this becomes one line. Now if you look here, O'Hara opens this next turn up a little bit, and Rispoli's going a little bit tight, where that hurts him now. As you see, O'Hara's able to pull that little bit of a gap to go up over the top of the hill. So he pulls that little tiny gap over Rispoli just because he opens that up. Now the two Vance and Hines Harleys of Rocco Landers and Hayden Gillum are starting to come back into play with these guys. We're going to have a four-rider battle for third. Rispoli next lap down that back straightaway's got to make a move on O'Hara. And if he can, I feel like he's got a little bit of pace right now on Tyler.
Here comes Rispoli onto the front straightaway. Is he going to have a move up the inside? Leg a dangling, and Rispoli will take over the spot. That's for third place. And now Rispoli's got a lot of work to do. Tyler O'Hara goes to work on him, but right behind him, teammates Rocco Landers, the number 97, on the Vance and Hines Revzilla Motul Harley-Davidson Road Glide. Now wants a piece of factory Indian Tyler O'Hara. So down to the back straightaway we go. Last time by Jay in the draft, the factory Harley-Davidson of Rispoli was the fastest. And it's still pretty close up front, but you can see the gap between Herfoss and Wyman, the 17 and the 33. Now here come these four riders that are battling for the final spot on the podium. And Tyler O'Hara trying to get that 620-pound plus motorcycle slowed down, nearly runs into the 43.
I thought he was going to have a look down the outside for a minute, and you can see Rispoli. It looked like Tyler didn't kind of get out of that last turn the way he would have liked, and it allowed James on the factory Harley to sneak up underneath him, get up alongside of him down that straight, go past him as they enter turn number 1. So now Rispoli's got to get his eyes up, focused ahead, try to get away from the 29 of O'Hara. 28.4, 28.4 for the two leaders at the front. Nothing between them, 0.4 seconds. Now we're going to see what the lap time gets down to with Rispoli leading the second group. They were in the 30s and in the 29s last time by.
Now keep in mind, Jason, we had a massive rainstorm over the night that washed a lot of the rubber off the racetrack. And then we had another little bit of rainstorm a couple hours ago as Landers goes up the inside. And what's caused the result of that too is that Mid-Ohio right now doesn't have rubber all over the racetrack, so it's a very select line on when you're going to be able to pass. And for the 29, Tyler O'Hara with a bit of an issue there, trying to get the bike slowed and stopped, so he's going to have to funnel in behind the number 1 plate of Hayden Gillum.
Yeah, it looked like he had a problem shifting the bike there, but I also, wow, look at how out of shape Gillum is. Gillum came down the front straightaway that last time, kind of shaking his head, so
sure did.
We'll have to keep an eye on him. There's obviously something that he's not quite comfortable or happy with. You see Kyle Wyman now is drawn up to the back of Herfoss, 28.6 for Herfoss, 28.5 that last time through for the two leaders. Wyman now has had some laps behind Herfoss to kind of try to decide where he might want to do something. Now we got a three-way Harley battle for this podium spot. Rocco Landers, who's really come into his own and gotten comfortable on this bike, is now going to be the one pushing Rispoli. You'll see here, O'Hara had to look over his shoulder, and Hayden Gillum went up underneath him. So maybe that was just one of those things where Tyler didn't feel like he could tip the bike in, and he had a little bit of a runway, a little bit of a runoff that he could use there.
Back to the battle for third. Number 43, James Rispoli, Harley-Davidson Factory Racing. That's a road glide. He's got two teammates, Revzilla Motul, Vance and Hines, Harley-Davidson Road Glides, chasing him down. And it looks like Rocco Landers has got a lot of pace. Rispoli holding them off. All the while, it kind of looks like Hayden Gillum, the number 1, has been struggling a little bit with rear grip. But Troy Herfoss up ahead sets the fastest split in sector number 2 as he's trying to hold off the advances of Kyle Wyman. So we have great battles all over the racetrack as Tyler O'Hara no longer in this mix as he had a problem. He's on the racetrack, Jay, circulating back in 6th place. There he is off in the distance. Jake Lewis, Larry Pegram, Corey West, Travis Wyman, and Max Linders.
Yeah, you saw Rispoli had a big look and saw Rocco Landers right behind. That's going to be a tight squeeze as they got down into turn 6. We'll have to get back to that battle in a minute, though, because right now Wyman is looking like he's trying to set up Herfoss into turn 8. He makes that pass. Herfoss slings it right back past him, though.
Boy, Kyle really had to get on the gas to square it up and nearly spun up the rear tire sideways. So the battle for the front.
Oh, and he's in wide, Craig. Wyman's in wide.
And it's really hard, Jay, because we know that there's just not a lot of grip out there. So Wyman has a look behind. Now he's got to gather it back up as we are at about 3 1/4 laps to go. So if Wyman's got enough speed, and boy, that is a big gap all of a sudden. But what's happened behind? Rocco Landers, the number 97, has passed Rispoli, and now Rocco has moved himself into 3rd. Hannah.
When I talked to Rocco earlier, he said he felt that his race pace was in the podium hunt. He was just hoping to hang on to the leaders a bit better. But when I asked him how he likes this track for his first time here, he said it's got a similar flow to pit race for him, but the elevation of Barber, and he really thinks that both of those things suit his riding style quite a bit. It's certainly showing out on track.
Yeah, and Rocco Landers not 100% either as he goes fastest stop of the race for him, Jason. Personal best, a 128.7, as Rocco actually had a little bit of an off this weekend and injured his ankle. He was kind of gingerly walking around. So Rocco not at 100%, but left side of your screen, Jay, this is how the lead unfolded.
Yeah, and that was basically Kyle jams it up underneath Herfoss. Herfoss turns it back, and then when they went up over the top of this hill down into turn 10, as you can see again, looks like Wyman's got another mistake as they go down into turn 6. He runs wide again. So not sure if he's got some sort of issue, but Herfoss has cleared off. You can see Rocco now has started to break away from Rispoli and his teammate Hayden Gillum. Now Gillum's going to want to try to get by Rispoli as well as they head up over into that turn 10 area. Look for Gillum to start to work on the number 43 as they're going to come around. There's only going to be 2 laps to go the next time through.
And for Troy Herfoss, it's been since MotoAmerica. Back at the beginning of June, since he has had a race win in Mission King of the Baggers. And Jay, for Herfoss, it seemed like he had a little bit of a run where he was snake bitten, because it was really in the last 3 races he only scored 9, 5, and 13 points.
I didn't get to watch him come by, but listening to Kyle go past, it didn't sound like that bike was at full rev. So keep an eye here on the 33 as Rocco Landers continues to close down that gap to the number 33 of Kyle Wyman. So we're going to keep an eye on that, but we're also going to keep an eye on this battle for 4th with Rispoli and Gillum. Last time through, Wyman went 31.3, so he was over 2 seconds slower than Troy Herfoss, and to that, he was 2 seconds slower than Landers as well.
For you Larry Pegram fans, as the Worm is back there in 8th place, he just won his personal best at a 131. Here comes the number 1 plate going around Rispoli, who was trying to get his factory Harley Davidson slowed down, but so much movement on the brakes. That's top gear down to 2nd gear coming off the back straightaway. And that is a high speed down to as slow as you can get it. And for Hayden Gillum, he goes 158.6 miles per hour on the back straightaway. If you're wondering how fast a Harley Davidson road guide can go in Mission King of the Baggers trim. So for Troy Herfoss now, all eyes are going to be on your championship points leader, Kyle Wyman. Because for Kyle Wyman, if he has an ailing motorcycle, which isn't the first time we've seen that happen to him, Jason, where Kyle Wyman, if you remember, turned around on the grid, turned to Jake Lewis and said, hey, my motorcycle isn't great, it's not working right now. And then fortunate circumstances that Troy Herfoss tip off and only finish 1 point ahead of Wyman. So Wyman doing everything he can right now to keep this thing going, and there's only a single lap to go. So Wyman, if he can only lose 5 points to Herfoss in this one, it's really a win in the championship for him.
What a rebound, though, for this man right here, Troy Herfoss, who had come from Australia as an Australian Superbike champ, and really at the beginning of the year showed a lot of pace. Arguably could have won the first 2 races at Daytona. Drafting got in his way there a little bit, as it was the first time he'd been to the super speedway that is Daytona. Then they went to Atlanta, and it was Kyle Wyman's turn, and he did well there in the first. But Troy Herfoss won that 2nd race in the rain. So these guys swapped it back and forth as far as points go. Kyle Wyman has really come on, though, the last few rounds. But Herfoss, this is going to stop the bleeding. And for Wyman, a 2nd place is still going to go a long way for him.
And for Rocco Landers in his first season in this category, it wasn't until 4 races ago when he found himself on the podium. And of the last 4 races, it's been 2 second-place finishes and a 3rd for the number 97. But for Troy Herfoss, he came out of the gate, Jason, in MotoAmerica. He starts off the first 8 races of the season with nothing but wins or 2nd-place finishes. He got his first podium finish on our 9th race of the season. And now, coming to the line, wheel in the air, the Indian factory racer, Troy Herfoss. The Australian takes the big win here at Mid-Ohio in his first trip to the circuit. And he's able to hold on to victory by 1 second over Kyle Wyman, who seemed to have figured something out there at the end of the race.
Yeah.
Seemed like he got things sorted out and was able to hold off the advances of the 97 of Rocco Landers, who beats his teammate Hayden Gillum. Rispoli in 5th. Tyler O'Hara ends up in 6th. And here's a look at the race pace, Jay. And the fastest lap of the race will go to Herfoss on lap number 2 at that 1:28.40. And what a race that was. Kyle Wyman took a shot. But we're going to find out from Herfoss how that race went, especially in the middle when Wyman went by him and he was able to get back.
Herfoss now celebrating this victory with the phenomenal fans that are here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course all around this fence line, this iconic facility. Two-wheel racing returns. I want to go back to something that Troy said after winning the challenge race this morning, Roger. He said it was the first time all weekend that he had been able to be around Kyle Wyman out on the racetrack, and what he took away from it was that he is certainly a lot more comfortable than what Kyle was. How did that help him today?
I think it just gave him the confidence and the momentum that, because he's had a rough couple races, and Kyle's kind of had all the momentum, and then he goes out there and wins that challenge. And not only that, whenever Kyle passed him and he's able to attack right away and make the pass back, it does something to you, and you're just you're in the fight. Kyle made a couple mistakes, but Troy just never put a wheel wrong, and he's such an experienced rider. It's like he knew where Kyle was a little bit stronger, like on the brakes into turn 6. Turns in a little bit early, and he doesn't leave the door open.
You watch now with that Australian flag. He had a fellow countryman there ready to hand that off to him, and it's a proud moment for Troy Herfoss. And talking to him throughout the weekend, he has certainly loved his time here in the United States this season and is soaking in all of these moments. He was excited about coming to a track that nobody else had experience on as well, because that certainly levels the playing field.
Really does. All the other tracks he spends Friday morning learning, and shows up without a lot of track knowledge, and this Friday he started out a lot stronger, and it makes a huge difference on Friday mornings when you can come out of that gate and you're not trying to play catch up throughout the whole weekend.
Reigning Australian Superbike champion over here in the U.S., now able to collect his 5th victory of the season, 10 podium results. This championship is certainly going to go down to the wire. Let's go ahead and send it back over next door to Greg and Jason.
Mission King of the Baggers coverage at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course is brought to you by Permco, a leading manufacturer of high-pressure hydraulic gear, vane pumps and motors, flow dividers, intensifiers, and accessories. By Mission Foods, the world's leading brand for tortillas and wraps. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Drag Specialties, an industry-leading distributor of aftermarket parts and accessories for Harley-Davidson, Indian, and custom V-twin motorcycles.
Here's a look at the race 1 results from Mission King of the Baggers. And it's Troy Herfoss who wins by a second over Kyle Wyman. Championship implications, Rocco Landers in 3rd, as we see Troy Herfoss coming into victory lane to celebrate with his team. Let's take a look at the championship standings real quick. So it's 257 for Kyle now, only 9 points between Wyman and Herfoss. Hayden Gillum on that one slips a little bit, and you can see that Rocco Landers making some inroads back there in 6th place. But all eyes, of course, are on the top of this championship with now 5 races to go in this season. Of course, we have another one to go tomorrow. Then we go to Circuit of the Americas, off to New Jersey for the finals. Let's get down to Hannah, who has our winner.
Troy Herfoss back on the top step of the box, just getting that helmet off, hat on. After a few weeks at home and your crew chief back on American soil, everything came together for you to take this victory. What was it that was working so well your first time here?
Look, it was nothing against this great country. I've been enjoying it a lot, but I was a little bit sick and a little bit injured, and it was nice to get home, see my osteo Miranda. Shout out to you. It's just the confidence she gives me just when I go for a checkup. And yeah, the body's good. I was okay at New Laguna. I didn't want to make an excuse, so I didn't say much about it, but I just want to say a huge thanks to Indian Motorcycles. That was our best yet. We've been second fiddle this weekend in the last few rounds to Kyle, and it felt real nice to be able to get out and lead the race at my own pace. And man, he always has a go. So he shot down underneath me, and I got back in front of him. And yeah, just everyone that's involved. There's so many sponsors. S&S Cycle, Dunlop, Progressive. The boss can see me reading them off right now. I'm too excited, but there's so many great people helping us. Let's get rolling tomorrow.
Big congratulations to Troy Herfoss, second place today, Kyle Wyman. And Troy said, Kyle, you made a big move on him there, but you just didn't quite have it, made a couple of mistakes. Tell us what you were feeling on that bike underneath you.
Yeah, after I made that move, I lost the front pretty big in between 10, 11 there, and then lost it again in the last corner. And from there, I don't know. It was that was it. I shredded that front tire in, I guess, 4 or 5 laps, and I don't know. We got to go back to the drawing board and kind of figure out what went wrong there, because we've been having really good longevity all week with the Dunlops. So it's got to be conditions related, and I guess we'll take second. We only lost 5 points to Troy. We're in good shape, so we'll be better tomorrow.
Second place today for Kyle Wyman, and rounding out your podium, Rocco Landers back on the box. Rocco, you told me all weekend long you really like this track, and you certainly shined out there. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's my first time here. My dad raced here back in the 90s. He always told me good stories about it. I really enjoyed it from the moment I got on. And I mean, it's difficult on the bagger, because it's like it's kind of a blend of like the flow of Pittsburgh and maybe the elevation of Barber. But it's a very physical track. It's hard. Your bike slides a lot. But we made a setup change before this race, and it definitely paid off. I got to give a shout out to my whole team, especially my crew chief Steve, for always giving me the best setup it's possible to have on this thing. I wish I would have gotten a better start, to be honest with you, because I think I had a shot at the win if I'd have been able to do that. I just got held up there in the beginning. But I mean, couldn't have done it without my sponsors. I mean, the whole Revzilla Multiple Vans and Hines Motorsports team, Revit, HJC, Foo Sport Boots, Superbike School, Mission, everybody.
Rocco Landers rounding out your Mission King of the Baggers podium.
Incredible run he's had in the last 5 races for Rocco Landers. Our coverage continues from the Permco MotoAmerica Superbike at Mid-Ohio after this.
Continuing to watch this podium celebration, you see Tyler O'Hara there making his way over to be able to celebrate with his teammate Troy Herfoss. Is certainly a well-fought victory for Troy, who just made just little steps each session just to pick up on something here, something there, and today it came to fruition. Roger.
It all came together, and we've seen it this morning when he went out toward the end of that second qualifier and went to the top of the board, and finally seen his name there at the top, and he was able to carry it into the challenge and then into the race as well. And he knows he's in for a fight. Kyle took a shot, and Kyle had some problems with the front tire. I thought maybe he was having a little issue back shifting possibly, but Kyle just shows that experience, knowing that he's losing the front end, the tire is going off. Today I have to take second. I have to take the 20 points. I can't toss it down the road with the issues that I'm having.
No, he knew that he had that pad going into the race today and was able just to settle in there. Let's talk really quickly. Rocco Landers, 4th podium of the season, but it's 3 in a row. He has figured out this bagger.
He has, and watching his lap times, he's right. He did have the pace to go with the leaders. We've talked earlier in the weekend how qualifying is so important here at Mid-Ohio because it's hard to pass. He just has to tomorrow get a really good start and have a better first lap.
Podium celebrations are complete. Let's go ahead and send it back over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore to wrap things up.
Beautiful overhead shot here at MotoAmerica Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Where that came from. It's so beautiful. That's what I was thinking about. Mission King of the Baggers, race number 1 done and dusted. And Troy Herfoss was able to get back 5 championship points as they celebrate. Kyle says he's in good shape, but there's a lot of work to do because we get to do it all again here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course tomorrow. So what are the solutions going to be for the factory Harley-Davidson team? And can Rocco Landers close the gap? We're going to find out tomorrow. For Hannah and Jason, I'm Greg. We'll see you then from Mid-Ohio.